All right, let's get started. So for everyone attending the webinar today, welcome. And for those that missed today's webinar but are watching through our YouTube channel, MDDC's YouTube channel, welcome as well. My name is Kevin Barrier with the Maryland Delaware DC Press Association, and today we'll be getting a masterclass on how to leverage immersive content and AI efficiency for newsroom growth. And our expert today is none other than Vineet Panjabi of Quintype Technologies. Quintype is a massive advocate and supporter to the news media industry. They've helped countless news media organizations around the world embark on successful digital newsroom transformations to increase website traffic while building engaged and interactive audience communities and generating steady revenue streams from those loyal subscribers. One partner of Quintype has been quoted in saying that, quote, Quintype enabled us to reduce our TCO by 35% while helping us 3x our website traffic and monthly page views. Quintype represents the evolution of how the news media industry interacts with audiences. I can't say enough good things about Quintype. But before I hand it off to Vineet, while you're listening in, if you have any questions, drop them in the chat and we will make sure to get to them. So without further ado, Vineet, take it away. Thanks for taking the time today.
Thanks so much, Kevin. And hi, everyone. Thank you for joining the webinar session today. I'm Vineet Panjabi. I'm the head of business at Quintype, and I've been with the company since the first couple years of inception. Uh, on the session today, we're going to talk about how we could leverage immersive content and AI efficiencies to enable growth within your newsrooms. And I do want to throw in a disclaimer. Please know this is not a sales pitch, not a product demo. We're just glad to have the opportunity and grateful to MDDC for giving us this opportunity to present what we've learned from newsrooms. Um, so I'm going to go ahead and get started with a little bit of a background, should I say a small story of how things started off at Quinta. So it rolls back to sometime in 2015. How can I say we're pretty much born out of a media organization. It was a joint venture between Bloomberg and Quintillion Media to launch a mobile-first financial news website catering to high net worth individuals across the country and the region. Um, the promoters of Quintillion Media met with our founder. We decided to build the technology from the ground up, and they came on board as investors in the organization. Little did we know, we found ourselves for the next couple years locked in newsrooms, working with reporters, editors, journalists, just trying to unpack all the moving pieces in content creation, news gathering, editorial workflows, and then the distribution and monetization of that content. So it was in 2017 that we launched with Bloomberg Quint, and fast forward to the next 5 years, where we've been steadily trying to expand our footprints across different regions, starting with home turf, but recently have local representation that was established in Dubai, in Finland, and very recently we launched our office in the United States with the acquisition of a social media listening platform called Listen First Media. So, with that said, we've been serving over 300 global news publishers spread across 4 continents. And these are not just legacy newspapers, but a lot of niche content, digital first, digital native content writers, a lot of magazines, and of course, regional and hyper local and national news media organizations. So, with that said, the reason I shared this story was more that over the last few months, we've been extensively traveling across different industry events, whether it was Copenhagen, Denmark recently, or sometime back at the MDDC Association event, where we've tried to learn from a lot of existing customers as well as publishers on how they run their digital operations. And that's what we're here to share with you. Our sweet spot is primarily within fast-moving content, high-traffic websites. So news media happens to be, quite a related industry. And if you happen to be in the same space, I hope you will find this information um, helpful. So quickly, after covering a little bit on the company background, we're going to go into modes of storytelling, starting with visual storytelling, connected content, and eventually how publishers have been adopting to AI within the newsrooms to enhance their efficiencies, productivities, volume of content going through the network. Now, with that said, I will take a step back. First, we look at our audience and just take a moment to see, while most of the Gen X and Gen Y have been through the transformation to digital, or should I say, living through the evolution of internet, mobile, and social media, the newer audiences, the Gen Z, the Gen Alpha, is mostly digital native. They have very short attention spans. And they are used to a lot more engagement, interaction with that content. So when we're looking at uncovering newer audiences or engaging with the audiences, the experience needs to be a lot more than just images and text. You need to bring in um, a lot of interaction through videos, through social media, through interactives that allows the content, that allows the user to engage with that content and essentially give you better outcomes. So one such way that we will start with first is visual storytelling. Now, visual storytelling, certainly, there's two very popular formats today. One of them is called web stories, and the other one's called video shorts. We're going to talk through both of these visual storytelling formats and also look at a few examples of how publishers have been doing it across the globe. So, web stories, that are also called visual stories or AMP stories, are immersive full screen experiences optimized for mobile devices. They typically consist of short, visually rich slides that users can swipe through. These stories often include a combination of images, videos, and animations and text overlays, and interactive elements like polls or quizzes. Web stories are great for delivering bite-sized content, such as news updates, tutorials, recipes, travel diaries, or a product showcase in a very visually engaging format. Examples of platforms that will create these web stories will include the Google App Story Builder. There are WordPress plugins out there for web stories and social media platforms like Instagram and Snapchat that will allow you to create content in that format. And not just that, but notable publishers, including National Geographic, CNN, the BBC, frequently use web stories to deliver, content in these formats to their audiences. The other format we're talking about is video shorts. Now, video shorts are brief video content, typically ranging from a few seconds to a few minutes, depending on the length. They're designed to capture attention rather quickly and are popular on platforms like YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Reels, and Twitter feeds. These videos can feature various content, including product demonstrations, behind the scenes footage, a how to guide, comedy sketch, inspirational messages, or even short documentaries. Video shorts would leverage techniques like fast-paced editing, eye-catching visuals, catchy music, and concise storytelling to engage viewers within a shorter span of time. Creators and publishers would often use video shorts to reach wider audiences, increase their brand awareness, drive engagement, or even convey messages in a rather succinct manner. Examples of successful video short creators include Zach King. If you're familiar with the Vine and TikTok videos, there's Tasty, which is a very popular BuzzFeed food-focused brand. And of course, NASA, that would share a lot of these videos around space exploration. That's obviously very engaging for millennials, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, and actually everyone across the board. So both web stories and video shorts offer very unique opportunities for visual storytelling in online publishing, catering to preferences of uh, the modern audiences and quickly visually engaging content on digital platforms. So I'm going to come back to visual storytelling in terms of what are the hallmarks of a visual story. And as you can see over here, it's usually captivating visuals, concise text, interactivity, and a mobile first optimization is what essentially taps the footprint. So um, with the digital medium, you can do so much more that if the story is purely coming out with a print first approach, which is essentially an image followed by text, it's an underutilization of that medium. You're with the videos and immersive images, the approach not only captures their attention but also fosters deeper engagement and connection with the content, catering to the preferences and behaviors of tech savvy demographics. So, with that said, let's look at a few examples of some of these stories. And I'm going to go ahead and play them on the screen. There's no sound to it, but I hope it gives you a good example of how some publishers are utilizing immersive storytelling formats. As you can see on the screen, this is more in full view, but I'm going to switch this to a mobile view. So that also gives you perspective on, uh, the stories are designed for a mobile first, younger, millennial, Gen Z sort of audience. So there's interesting call to actions. If you see with the pop-ups that appear on the screen, um, as well as the overlays and the parallaxes that essentially make that experience a lot more engaging and interactive. Another example we would see over here is a sports content story, and this is MS Dhoni, a very popular, should I say, cricket personality. I'm not sure how many would follow cricket as a sport here, but just again to show you an example of how a visual story would unpack in an immersive way, giving a timeline of their careers, and of course, in a mobile-friendly way, where you're able to interact with that content through different sliders, swipes, or even look at a timeline of their career trajectory, and essentially, records, etc., that they've broken. I'm just going to visualize this on a desktop screen, which also looks pretty good, although it is more mobile first in nature. And then the last couple, I think we could take a look at. As you can see, they're very different from your regular text and image, but more elaborate. This one is a popular story from New York Times, and as you could see, it goes through the different experiences, as you scroll through the content and engage with it. So even though it's long form content and is a combination of pieces of heavy text and imagery, the interactive the interactive the interactivity makes it easier for younger audiences to engage with such content. And then here's the last one. I do want you to note these examples because we do have certain points that we're going to emphasize around as we go towards learnings or key takeaways from these immersive stories. But here's one on Usain Bolt that kind of runs more laterally than vertically. So it's more of um, uh, you know rather than scrolling down, you're scrolling sideways, which is another very creative way of telling a story, sports content sort of a story. And then now we're going to switch to some examples on web stories or visual stories or app stories. I've got one such that we could share over here. It usually takes the full splash screen of your mobile device. So we're going to render it in a mobile screen over here. and it will have short videos, punchy text. You're able to spread them up like slides of your presentation or cards with more image focus and text overlaying on top of the images, but also some ways where you could drop a tile for brand promotion, some sponsorship, or a call to action. Um, Leading the publishers or leading the readers to a certain website, destination, or a page for that matter. So works great for affiliate marketing, works great for lifestyle content, entertainment content. Um, and these are, some examples of how publishers have been utilizing, their call to actions. If you could see the bottom of the screen, will highlight how it would engage the user to do something after engaging with that piece of content, whether it's to watch the video, whether it's to be able to make a donation, subscribe, or even some sort of important announcements. So moving that to, of course, some of these stories tend to be a little bit production heavy, but there is a, a significant upside to producing content this way, including a lot of commercial upsides. First amongst them is really around the increase in audience engagement. Visual storytelling has a unique ability to capture audience attentions and evoke emotions, leading to a higher levels of engagement with the content. When audiences are emotionally invested in a story, they're more likely to spend time interacting with it, sharing it with others, and returning for future content. And this increased engagement can translate to higher viewership numbers, longer time spent on the publisher's platform, and ultimately higher ad revenue or subscription revenue. The other point where it makes a lot of sense is the enhanced brand perception. A visual story will allow publishers to convey their brand identity, values, personality in a more compelling and memorable way. Through visually rich and immersive content, publishers are able to create strong emotional connections, leading to an increased brand loyalty, positive word of mouth, and a favorable perception of the publisher's brand that results in higher customer retention rates, a larger base of loyal followers who actively support the publisher's content as well as their products. Another benefit is the diversification of revenue streams. Visual storytelling does open up opportunities for publishers to diversify their revenue streams beyond traditional advertising. For example, publishers are able to monetize their visual content through these sponsorships or brand partnerships or merchandise sales, content licensing, events, as well as premium subscriptions. So there's a variety of monetization options that potential and reduce the dependence on any single source of revenue for the contents. Last but not the least is access to newer markets. Visual storytelling has the power to reach and resonate with diverse audiences across different demographics, interests, and regions. By creating these visually appealing and culturally relevant content, publishers are able to attract newer audiences and expand their reach into previously untapped markets. This broader audience base not only increases the publisher's influence and impact, but also creates opportunities for collaboration with brands and advertisers seeking to connect with specific audience segments. So, with that, I'm going to highlight a couple more aspects around the competitive advantage, and the overall benefit. In today's competitive media landscape, publishers most must or have to continuously innovate and differentiate themselves to stand out of the crowd. Visual storytelling does allow publishers to differentiate their content offerings, establish a unique brand identity, and stay ahead of the competition. Publishers are able to position themselves as industry leaders and innovators, attracting both audiences and advertisers seeking fresh and engaging content experiences. So, overall, there's numerous commercial upsides, including um, enhanced engagement, brand perception, diversified revenue streams, um, and long-term success in an increasing visually centric digital world. So with that, we'll perhaps switch the gear a little bit over to connected content. And this is the second aspect of visual storytelling, what we have seen very popular with publishers across the globe. And connected content really refers to, a strategic arrangement and presentation of related information within online news articles, blogs, or updated stories. The primary goal is to keep the readers engaged and informed by providing additional context and relevant updates or supplementary visuals, such as graphs, charts, or videos. The approach helps to create seamless and immersive reading experiences while also encouraging the readers to explore further into these topics. So let's take a look at how are some ways where we can utilize connected content with our stories, right? First and foremost is contextual links. Within the text of an article or your blog post, authors are able to embed hyperlinks to related stories, background information or previous coverage on the same topic. These links will provide readers with additional context, and they allow them to delve deeper into specific aspects of the story if they choose to do so. Second one is around updating notifications, breaking news stories, developing situations. Authors are able to include update notifications at the top or bottom of the article to let them know that the story is still in progress. There are recent developments to the story in the original publication or keeping them abreast of latest information. There's interactive elements in a story, incorporating infographics, charts, maps, or multimedia content will enhance the engagement from these readers. The visuals can dynamically update to reflect the latest data or developments, providing readers with real-time information and analysis. One such example around this is what you'll see in just the coming slide or so is we recently got through the one of the world's largest elections in the Indian ecosystem, and it was amazing to see how different legacy publishers were representing content around, let's say, the counting of election results and displaying election results, and which political party is gaining lead over the other through some very engaging infographics and interactive content experiences. And last but not the least, we've got social media integration, we've got recommendations, we've got email newsletters. All of this is very self-explanatory in how you could utilize these mediums to enhance the distribution or perhaps connect your content to make sure it gives the readers a holistic experience, to be able to engage with that information. So with that, let's just look at a couple examples. Here's one on a live blog. Another way to represent, with a blinking dot on how the results of the elections are developing. This is a screenshot on a live blog with date and time stamps on how the results were being developed and what was happening in the political arena. Another way to represent data, and I think where this comes very handy and very useful is when it comes to financial data. Visualizing market and share data can greatly enhance content in the online publishing space. First and foremost is the clarity and accessibility. So financial data can often be dense and difficult to interpret, especially for readers who are not familiar with finance or investing. Visualizations such as a line chart, a candlestick chart, or a bar graph, can simplify very complex data sets, making trends, patterns, and correlations which are more accessible and understanding to a wider audience. Highlighting trends and patterns. Visualizations will enable publishers to highlight important trends and patterns in financial data, such as the movement of a stock price or trading volume or trends in the market. By using colors, shapes, annotations, publishers can draw that attention to significant events or developments helping readers identify opportunities or risks in the financial markets. Last couple are around comparative analysis, where the visualizations will allow for very easy apples to apples comparison on different financial metrics or assets classes over time across different companies or sectors. Side by side comparisons using a bar chart, a radar chart, or scatter plots can help readers identify relative strengths and weaknesses, assess performances, and make informed investment decisions. So that's also one of the reasons why uh, we had gone about the architecture to be able to enable visual storytelling when it comes to financial news or financial news portals. And last but not the least is really the interactive exploration, how you can interact with that data and the persuasion with your storytelling. So, a well designed visualization can enhance the storytelling aspect of a financial journalist by providing visual evidence to support their narrative. By incorporating visualizations into the articles, or reports, publishers are able to not only make that content more engaging and persuasive, but also memorable and helping the reader connect with the story on an emotional as well as intellectual level. So overall, I guess visualizing financial data in online publishing can improve comprehension, facilitates the analysis, and enriches the reader experience, and ultimately helps the readers make more informed financial decisions and adds value to the publisher's content offerings. So here's an example of an infographic that was quite popularly used across the country, through the election period. And these are not very complex visualizations. In fact, there are tools, and they are complementary, free to use tools like Data Wrapper and Flourish, where you're able to simply input your information, whether it's a table on an Excel spreadsheet or a Google worksheet, or you're just trying to extract information in a more interactive way, where the graphics can really enhance the visualization of that data. So a lot of these visualizations will come out of box with JavaScript embeds that could simply be copy pasted into your story to get the visualization out. So here's a couple examples that you see with using tools like Data Wrapper and Flourish. And now I'm going to come back to the primary advantages. Again, the commercial upside of connected content, which is very significant for online news publishers and platforms. Now, here's a few points that highlight the commercial benefits. Starting with increased engagement, connected content will encourage readers to spend more time on a website, clicking through your related articles, exploring multimedia content, and interacting with the interactive elements, right? Higher engagement metrics such as the time on site, the page views, the return visits attract advertisers looking to reach a highly engaged audience and increases your advertising revenue and return. Then you have audience retention. By providing readers with a seamless and immersive reading experience, the connected content helps to retain audiences for a longer period. Readers are more likely to return to a website that consistently offers valuable and relevant content, leading to higher levels of loyalty and recurring traffic. The sustained audience retention is attractive to advertisers that are seeking to build brand awareness and customer loyalty. Last couple points are really around data insights and personalization that you get with more connected content, in terms of what are the preferences of the readers, what is the behavior of the reader, what story did they read before coming to the current story on your website. And by analyzing how these readers interact with different types of content and the topics, publishers are able to optimize their content strategy and tailor their recommendations to individual readers. These are some learnings that we have seen happening very actively, proactively across different regions. Um, but it also enhances the reader satisfaction and increases the likelihood of conversions, such as a subscription sign up or a product purchase. Last but not the least is your monetization opportunity and your brand partnerships and sponsorships. I think they're both connected in some way or another, but beyond the traditional advertising revenue sources, your connected content will open up more monetization opportunities for a publisher. For example, you're able to do premium subscription tiers with exclusive access to in depth analysis, interactive tools, or even something as simple as a ad-free browsing experience. Publishers can collaborate with third-party content creators or partner to syndicate relevant content or co-develop multimedia projects, generating additional revenue streams through licensing agreements and revenue sharing agreements. Um, and then we've got brand partnerships where the connected content will give you a platform to forge strategic partnerships and sponsorships with brands aligned with their audience's interest. For instance, publishers are able to create custom content series or brand experiences that will integrate seamlessly with the products or services. The collaborations not only generate revenue through your sponsorship deals, but also enhance the credibility and authority of the publisher by associating them with reputable brands. So overall, your connected content will enable uh, a publishing house to leverage their audiences with engagement, data-driven insights, as well as strategic partnerships to drive revenue growth and diversification um, in an ever increasing competitive landscape. So I'm going to pause over here to see if there are any questions that have come along the chat window, and before we dive into the AI aspect um, on our learnings.
Thanks, Vineet. No, it looks like no questions. So keep on rolling. But everyone in the chat, if you do have questions, just a reminder, drop them in the chat, and we'll be sure to get them answered for you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Kevin. Well, we'll now perhaps switch the gear to a little bit around how AI has been involved in, how can I say, enhancing productivity, efficiency across newsrooms. While we are familiar with multiple applications, but I think just harkening back to our recent topic around connected content, where we see uh, a majority of the use case is really around related stories and recommended stories. So you're able to essentially, what we have seen newsrooms practice is either a user to content mapping, where um, you are essentially recommending stories to the reader based on the story that they're currently uh, reading or based on the browsing pattern or the behavior, or a content to content mapping. I'm sorry, I'm going to say that one more time. So there's a user to content mapping where you are essentially tracking past behaviors of the user, and based on that, recommending the story to the user. And the next way to use enhance AI is to do a content to content mapping, which is where you recommend the next article based on the current article that the user is reading. So here's a screenshot of both examples that we've tried to put together in a slide with, again, a very popular news publisher, but several other use cases. AI is not here to do the writing on the story, but essentially allows the publisher to focus on what they do best, is in terms of writing the content. But what AI has come to assist with is essentially the mundane, or should I say, the dirty work around meta title, description, or putting information that is more beneficial for SEO purposes or search engines for the discovery of that content. So those are the aspects where AI is playing a rather prominent role in just making the publishing process a lot more easier, a lot more faster. And some common use cases around that would be headline suggestions, um, as I mentioned, filling out the meta titles, meta descriptions, push notifications, social media messages that can be auto generated by just analyzing the content around the story. And then, of course, smaller tweaks like paraphrases or just diversifying that content, forking into multiple languages using automatic AI-based translations is something that's very popular, especially with financial or factual content, but not as much where there is, a lot of the emotions and intricacies, tonalities involved, which is still improving on a day-to-day basis. So with that, we'll more or less, cover our webinar session today. Um, I hope the session was informative and I could perhaps take most of it was relevant to the topic that was expected. But we're happy to stick around for a few more minutes to take any questions from the group.
All right. Yeah, while we see if there's any questions, amazing, amazing information, Vineet. Thank you so much for taking the time today. And for those that haven't had, if you haven't had a chance to check out Quintype yet, head over to their website or reach out to Vineet by email. I'm going to drop both of those pieces of information in the chat, along with our information at MDDC Press, with our YouTube channel, my email address as well, and keep a lookout for an email with a link to today's recording, so you can check out all of this great information at your leisure. Feel free to share it around to industry colleagues. It's this information. This is the evolution, and this is the future of how news media needs to engage with their audience. Let me drop this into the chat for everybody. All right, so that is in the chat. So Vineet's information's in the chat, along with mine as well. Give it another second or two to see if there are any questions. And I guess I'm going to have one question for you, Vineet, while we're seeing if there's any others. So, Quintype is, Quintype and Quintype's technology really, in my mind, it demonstrates the evolution of what news media uh, may be or will be in the future, and how news media will interact with audiences. And at our conference, we asked our sponsors and our members, what's one thing that they want to see to help in terms of evolution in news media, to keep news media as a whole progressing forward. So I would say beyond all of the great information you gave me today, what's something that news media needs to do or needs to keep in mind to make sure that they continue to move forward and stay relevant in such a fast-paced world?
So I think something that AI will not do is, the job of a journalist, when you're literally covering live events and you're writing good stories. It's always, should I say, it's something that will need some sort of review. But the art of the nuances, the tonality, the emotion that goes into that content is something that um, perhaps AI is not there. I don't think we'll be at a point where it will be able to generate content like that. What will keep um, things relevant, and what we say is technology is going to become a level playing field across the board, whether it is a niche media content organization or a large legacy publisher. So the one thing that's going to differentiate one publisher from another is really the content, um, and the originality around that content. And as long as there are tools that allow publishers to focus on writing great stories. I think everything will work out just well, and it's also more about adapting to the ways how content is being consumed. The same 2,000, 5,000 word story could perhaps be forked into a 5, 10 slider visual story, and just using these newer modern storytelling formats. So while the story is the same, just the way you um, tell the story the medium could be a little bit different. But as long as the content is there, I think none of that would be a challenge. So I would say, that's just my 2 cents.
I think that's well said. So I go around all over the place, all over the United States, and talk about AI. And for me, in marketing and advertising, and in doing that, I hear a lot of great folks talk about AI in newsrooms, and I think you're absolutely right. AI isn't here to replace the human element of storytelling and reporting, especially investigative reporting, but it's to be used as a tool. And as long as you use that tool where you're not, or where it's not the hammer and you're the nail, I think is absolutely paramount. And taking a piece of content that you already have, this amazing content that you've created, and diversifying and repurposing that content into other ways of storytelling to reach a larger audience, the way that those respective audience buckets want to engage with content, I think is going to be so important as we move forward in the evolution of news media. All that said, we don't have any other questions. You did an absolutely great job with presenting some incredible information to us. Thank you so much, everyone that tuned in today, so to speak. Thank you so much for taking the time. Vineet, thank you so much for taking the time. And I think that's it. Keep a lookout on mddcpress.com for more informative webinars and learning opportunities as we move forward throughout the year. Vineet, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Pleasure was mine. Thank you, Kevin.
All right.
Writing stories can be challenging, but fret not. Introducing Sage, your very own editorial companion, powered by artificial intelligence. Let's take a look, shall we? Trouble crafting your story? Simply select the text and click on Auto-Generate. Sage will convert simple statements into quality content while preserving the original message. What's more, Sage can even translate an entire story from one language to any other language in just a click, ensuring the intended meaning and tone is retained. And that's not all. Sage is equipped to generate meta titles, meta descriptions, and even push notifications effortlessly, so you can focus on what truly matters, writing compelling stories. Join us as we embark on a journey into the world of AI, be it generating title and summary, automatically generating web stories, or an intelligent search. Sage can do it all. Ready for this AI revolution? Talk to us. Quintype.